Sometimes you just need to take the slips out and bowl defensively. And you also need to be careful with your computer's defense as well. If you need a VPN, go Nord. NordVPN.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months and gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. So put in some dot balls and turn them into maidens via NordVPN.com/Kimber.
This is an absolutely crazy game. I was thinking, I'll do a third innings because, I didn't get many last week, and this one I'll finish early, and I've got some interesting notes about it. And then I think they got to 200 to 1 Punjab. I'd have to check the actual figures, but I'm pretty sure at one stage they got to 200 to 1. And you start to fade away and you go, oh, well, they're going for the net run rates. Of course, they're going to lose a couple of wickets and it's fine. And then they just keep happening. And when there was the 2 wickets in a row to Chahal, I was like, oh my God, they're actually going to push this all the way. And I'll go out on a limb and say this. This game is a perfect representation about why net run rate is a terrible idea. And also a perfect representation of why net run rate actually can make really boring games exciting. Because net run rate is such a stupid system, right? But the only reason that Kolkata would play the way they would is because of that. Because if you had a different system that allowed you to keep wickets in hand and get bonuses for that, you would just have won this game normally. Tried to get there a little bit quicker and do that. But because it's all about net run rate, you end up putting what is the easiest win in history in massive jeopardy, right? I mean, that's essentially what they have done. They have not deserved to win this game, but because of the system and the way the league is played, they've won it by like 15 runs, 16 runs. They've run it by a lot of runs. How is that even possible? It is one of the more random parts of our game that we really have is this ridiculous thing. And I just want to find. Sorry, I have to find this. I have to find what they got to, because the odds had to have said at a certain stage that Punjab were, let's have a look. They got to 280 to 1. 280 to 1 is what they were to win in this game. And people got them further than that. People actually, there's a couple of dollars even spent at like 900, almost 1,000 to 1. People have made a lot of money off this absolutely ridiculous game. And I don't think I've ever seen a comeback like this before. They were so tragically out of that game for such a long period of time. So on the net run rate, this is why it's ridiculous. I just want to be really, really clear here. The reason why this is ridiculous is if Kolkata, if Andre Russell had hit 3 sixes to start this last over, they would have ended up with a huge net run rate boost, KKR, in a game that they would have gone within a ball of losing. That's why net run rate is so comically stupid. It is so deformed. It doesn't make any sense. You know, the most famous game about this in history is probably when New Zealand beat Australia in the World Cup in 2015. It's like, that is not a dominant victory. It's not a dominant victory if you do it 9 wickets down. But why net run rate can be exciting, and it doesn't happen as often because most teams don't do what Kolkata did. Most teams don't go, no, we're definitely going to score as quickly as possible. And let's have a look at what they were. So they were, I just want to get the overs up here. So they needed 111. And before they start losing their masses of wickets, they're 62. They're 60 for 2 after 7. Right? Or maybe at the end of the power play, they're 55 for 2. Maybe that's the best one of looking at. So they're putting their foot absolutely down at that stage. They are trying to, destroy the chase. And really get in. And because of that, we've ended up with a great game. It still doesn't make the net run rate thing any better. But there's so much stuff I want to talk about at the end here. The big mistake for me is not Dre Russ swing wildly at the last ball. It's what happened at the end of Chahal's over. I think at that stage, and you've hit, 3 boundaries off Chahal? So I think you either have to do one of two things at that point. I think you either need to just try and get another boundary. So what it's here is a .6.64. So you either go for another one or you have to get off strike. Those are your two options. Because the 6 there, they needed at that stage. Well, they needed 16. Sorry, they needed 17 at that stage. Yeah, okay, I've got that right. They needed 17 at that stage. So a 4 or a 6 there brings that down to very, very manageable score, right? That's an edge from the tail ender can help you at that stage, right? And you control the game. You control the narrative because the balls in hand were there. I think what Andre Russell thought was that was going to spin further and it was going to be a wide. I understand the thinking. I just don't think he needed the wide at that stage. I don't understand how gambling on whether the ball is going to spin that much helps you with the wide. Whereas we've seen Andre Russell play this shot before. Leg spinners quite often bowl wide of the stumps to him. And he plays this sort of, I don't know what you'd call it. It's almost like a front foot sort of push where he drops the bat very late and just deflects it towards point and takes off. It's not a shot that a lot of other players play, but it's one that he plays when he's just trying to get off strike. That's the shot that he could have played to that ball. And it would have worked absolutely perfectly for him if he'd managed to do that as well. And instead, what he's actually done is left the ball. And then the following over, that means that Arshdeep has a go at the tail ender. And I was looking this up during the game, actually. See if I can bring it up. It was Aurora was 10, wasn't it? Yeah. Aurora and Nokia are not what my dad would call ferrets, which come after the bunnies, which is a very Australian phrase, and I don't know if the rest of cricket even uses that. But if you have a look at his batting record, Aurora, he's never made more than 40 in a professional innings, but he averages 11 in first-class cricket, 11 in List A, and obviously struggles a little bit more. And Anrik Nokia, I think, probably rightfully was batting behind him. But again, Anrik Nokia has a 79 in first-class cricket. I think that's right. I was looking this up while the game was going. Let's have a look here. Yeah, so he's got 79 not out in first-class cricket. He's got 4 first-class 50s. His first-class average is 13. His List A average is 8. They're probably about the same as each other, right? There's not a lot of difference between the two of them. You could have thrown out either one. But with the pressure, with the match situation, with everything that was going at that point, with so many balls left, I just don't think you need them to face a ball until it gets down to the last 2 overs. Had Dre Russ waited to the last 2 overs and then been like, okay, now we need to be a little bit more smart and we need to be a little bit more flexible with our thinking, that's fine. But at that stage, there really wasn't a reason for me to gamble on the wide and not just control the strike. The strike was the most important part. He could have batted out the maiden of Arshdeep Singh anyway. But let's go to Arshdeep Singh's over, because I really want to talk about this. It was such a fascinating over. Arshdeep started the over with mid-on and mid-off up, which I think tells you a little bit about Aurora. They would have known a little bit. But I was expecting short balls all the way through. He actually started with 2 full balls. And at the time I was like, oh, does this mean they don't think Aurora can hit the ball over the top? Which is very possible. They did also almost get a single. And I want to go back to where this was just to get the exact ball here. So much went on at the end here. They did almost get a single. So that's when Aurora went out. So 14.2. Aurora hits the ball into the offside. He wants a run. There probably wasn't a run there, but it was a dangerous run. But Andre Russell just doesn't start particularly quickly at the moment. But those were the first 2 full balls. So the first one was more of maybe more of a Yorker length. Next one was slightly short of length. First one gets hit to short third and there's no run. The next one gets hit to short cover and he tries for a run and there isn't anything there. So he clearly wants to get off strike, but also, even with mid-off and mid-on up, he's not looking to hit the ball down the ground. He doesn't have that in his range. So either that's great scouting or they just thought it's a tail ender. What are the chances are he's going to launch Arshdeep back over his head here? Good captaincy, good thinking, however you want to put it. But then Arshdeep does go to the short ball. And the first one he bowls is around the wicket. Oh, sorry, over the wicket. He's left armer, isn't he? Over the wicket, and it's quite short and a little bit down the leg side. It wasn't a wide, but it wasn't perfectly aimed. But it didn't need to be at that point because he's already bowled 2 full balls. So Aurora has to think that there is a chance that the ball is going to be pitched up and that, there's going to be a Yorker or one could slide through him. But now he's also got the bouncer, so he's on the back foot. And he bowls the 3 bouncers after that. And if you think about it, one was a back of a length ball that beats him outside off stump. Another one was a really, really good bouncer, which he ends up gloving, I think, or pushing up in the air to covers. And then he gets the edge off the last one. But he put himself in a really good position, Arshdeep, to also make the batter worry about the surprise full ball. Because when that field came out originally, me as a cricketer looked at that and went, okay, they're going to go short at the tail ender here. And they didn't. So, especially for the last ball of the over, what if he'd just gone short ball all the way through the over? I think for the last ball of the over, if you're the tail ender, you're like, all I need to do is sway to get out of the way of this. Drop my hands and sway. Whereas actually, what has ended up happening is he's got a little bit in the line and got the edge through. And then we get to Dre Ross at the end. No, as I said, my issue with Dre Ross is the 2 overs previous. I have no issue with that one. Maybe he should have waited for a slightly better ball. Like, do you really want the ball from the stumps? Where's Marco Jansen is not a deadly accurate bowler. I think with Marco Jansen, if you get the ball towards the top of the stumps, angling back into you, is that not the one where you think to yourself, I'll just knock that away. I'll wait for him go for these wide Yorkers. I'll wait for him to get a little bit too straight so I can help him away. You could argue that a little bit with Dre Ross. But again, he's thinking, if I hit a 6 here, they're going to break because they should have broken. So it's a fascinating end to that game. And let's just go back to Chahal. We were saying that on the show today, just how much Chahal's been struggling. Like it hasn't been coming out of his hands. And if we just go through, I know he got smacked at the end, but what was the over I wanted to look at? So at that stage he has, so he gets his first wicket, which is Rahane. And at that stage, there's no real pressure on the game. Puts the ball in the right area. Rahane goes for the big slog sweep. They're still pushing. They've had, I think that was in the 8th over. So the 7th over, they went for 5. And I reckon that's a fairly normal thing to see in a net run rate chase. So in a net run rate chase, what you do in that situation is you say to the team, push as hard as you can in the power play. Just take a breather straight after the power play and then go again. So what Rahane did was perfectly normal at that point. And instead, I'm just got to get to one of my other notes. I just realized. And then he tried to go hard. Do you remember what happened the next ball after that, though? Venki scored a 5. And he scored a 5 because I think it was Xavier Bartlett. Was it Xavier Bartlett? As he shaped the throw, the ball slipped out of his hand and went to the boundary behind him. Just a reminder that they have defended, 111, and within that, they threw a ball backwards for a boundary. This game was so stupid. Right, okay. Then I think Maxwell, they take that wicket and they don't keep any pressure on with that 5. But if you look at after the 5, you've got 1, 1, 1, ... 1. That was the point at which I had half an eyebrow up of are they just going to create a moment here where they get a couple of wickets? I still expected KKR to win, but was there something possible? And if you look at the start of the next over, Chahal actually lets the pressure off a little bit. He bowls a wide, which just was so unnecessary at that stage, or such a bad error. But then Raghavanshi, who's been batting pretty well up until that point, gives himself some room and is caught. But it's actually when I really, as I said before, I had the slight eyebrow. When I really got fascinated was what happened with Rinku Singh after this. Because there was a big appeal and then there was 4 other dot balls. So there was 5 dot balls to finish that over. And at that stage, I started to think to myself, are they actually still going for the net run rate? Or have they got a little bit spooked here? And the next over is when Maxwell, again, he's bowled so well this year. In the last couple of years, I always thought Maxwell was at his best as a T20 bowler on bigger scoring wickets when there is a lot of runs, because he knows, he thinks so much about hitting 4s and 6s. He's very good at putting balls in areas that are hard to do that. I remember watching him when I was working for Melbourne Stars, and the amount of time I was like, this is when he's going to be good. And it generally is, because he finds a way to negate boundaries, which on more regular wickets, when you want him to be able to bowl up and bowl better, he doesn't always do. Anyway, he gets Venki out on that LBW as well. And so at that stage, they are 74 for 5. All they need the following over is normal cricket, right? All they need in that following over. Chahal has what? 2 wickets at that? Yeah, he's got 2 wickets at that stage. You've got Andre Russell out. He just needs to knock the ball. Andre Russell in his career, but coming into today, had 82 runs from 42 balls against Chahal for 1 out. He gets a single, and Rinku Singh comes on, and this is the moment when everything completely changed. Chahal just basically just drags him forward. It's like a classic old leg spinner's delivery, right? Beautiful bowling, and and Inglis takes the bails off, and then you get the freak dismissal. This is what happens in great collapses, is that you always have that freak dismissal, which, looking back on it, you're like, did the pressure get to him or not? I don't know. He comes out, and Chahal bowls a full ball, and he tries to paddle sweep, and somehow not only does it get a top edge, but it gets a top edge in a way that, like, the slip can come around and take it. Like, it's a good fielding by Shreyas Iyer, but it was also like, it did bobble up in the air. It did have that element of like freakish nature to it. So at that stage, it's 77 for 7, and Harshit Rana is like the last sort of batter that is worth looking at, as far as someone you can trust. And he does something really interesting again, just to go back to what I was saying before. Marco Jansen is bowling to him. He gets it a little bit too straight, and Harshit Rana turns it on the leg side for 2. And why I found this really interesting at the time was I thought they ran 1. And the reason I thought they ran 1 is because I want Andre Russell to control the game again. Instead, it was an easy 2, don't get me wrong. Like, I understand why they took it, and what did they need at that stage? They needed 35. But they had lost 4 wickets in the last 3 overs. You've got a number 9 type of player in that kind of game. I just wonder if it's better off just for the next couple of seconds to just settle it down, let the tail ender get in a little bit. So Harshit Rana, I know I've seen him make runs in test matches. Oh, no, he didn't make any runs in test matches. I must have looked at his first class record. Yeah, he has a first class 100. I knew there was something about his batting that I'd looked up before. He has a first class 100. He has 250s. Hasn't played a lot of cricket. It's clearly not a 0 on talent. But in that kind of situation, when you've lost so many wickets in a row and things are, also madness is happening to you, I think you really want to just have a moment, especially against a strike bowler like Marco Jansen. I think you just want to have a moment of, let's get the single, let's get the main batter back on strike for a moment, and then think about how we get the following, what would that have been, 34 runs, right? That's how I would have thought about it. They didn't do that. And of course, Harshit Rana chops the ball onto the stumps. He's facing a big, giant left arm pace bowler. It's not something he would have faced much in professional cricket, and you can't blame him. And at that stage, again, you're like, I think that was the first time that Punjab were favourites in the chase. If I remember, I think they were 360 before that. And then when that happened, they came into about 180. So even when Ramandeep went out, I don't think they were favourites. I still think they were outsiders. At that stage, they become favourites. And it's very fair, because you know who's to come. And of course, then the following over, you get this extraordinary over of Andre Russell almost playing onto his stumps to begin with. He then just gets the ball over long off for a 6, defends the next ball. I do love it when he defends. Then he goes for a big one over cow corner. So he's got the 2 6s, and then he gets the wide one. And he's kind of at that stage. Once he gets the wide ones, like I think he knows in his head that he's broken the bowler at that point. And then we get back to the wide, arse deep, and everything else we've just talked about. It's just a fantastically interesting end to a cricket game, even if it had happened with the scores at 200. But the fact that this all happened in a game where you're defending 111 and you're throwing balls for boundaries at different times is that a wasp or a bee? That's a wasp. That's not something I wanted to come in while I was recording. This is the sort of game where wasps come into your window while you're recording them. And now, of course, the wasp won't be able to get back out, will he? Are wasps? Yeah, oh, he did get out. A wasp male or female? I don't know. I do have some other notes. I'll just quickly get to them because I think there's some interesting stuff here. Josh Inglis was brought in partly because they think he can play spin better. And that was a terrible shot against Chakravarti. What I'm about to say will make it sound slightly better because I do think Chakravarti might be the best white ball bowler in the world at the moment, especially with Bumrah not in peak fitness. Might change if Bumrah comes back to peak fitness. But that was not a good shot. It was not a good decision. That's disappointing for them that that's happened the way that it has. The other thing I wanted to talk about, though, was whether Varun Chakravarti is the best white ball bowler in the world. I think we'll do a full video on this. I've been saying for a while he might be the best spinner in the world, and now I'm just like, I don't think there's another bowler in the world right now, outside of perhaps Noah, where I would think to myself, when they are on, it's a lock. So Sophie Eccleston, Jasprit Bumrah, Partha Rana have all been locks for me in recent times. Rashid Khan, obviously. None of them, I feel like they are locks at the moment. I just wonder if the other two are at that level now. And I think Varun Chakravarti is much more consistent than Noah. Noah still bowls seems to start every spell with a wide every time I watch him. So yeah, it's worth thinking about that for Varun Chakravarti. And then Sunil Narine. Sunil Narine, let's just have a look at his figures because I was going to do that before the stupid end to this game. So he took 2 for 14 off his 3. Certainly bowled very, very well and wasn't even needed to bowl out. Now, if we look at him in IPL cricket, I'm looking at his batting, which is a whole different thing. So last year, he took 17 wickets in 15 games, at an average of 21.64 and an economy of 6.69. This year, in 6 games, 7 wickets, an average of 22, an economy of 7.33. If you compare that to the years before, 2023 was 11 wickets in 14 games, 34 average, 7.97. And the year before that, 2022, was one of his great defensive years where he went at 5.57, but couldn't take wickets. At the moment, he is combining both of the magical things of Sunil Narine, of not allowing anyone to score off him and also doing that. What other notes do I have here? Yeah, I was going to say that Chahal was bowling well early. I wrote a note on that. I don't think I thought he was going to completely destroy the game. But I was thinking, oh, he's bowling quite well here. Good on him. It's good that he's found his touch again. And the other thing, and this is really early on in the game, but Prab Simran's hitting. His ability to hit sixes down the ground when off balance has got to really cause problems for bowlers, right? Because generally, if you can get someone off balance and they try and hit, they're going to miss hit it and it's going to go straight up in the air. Or their boundaries are going to come from square on the wicket. So you can kind of cover the boundaries a little bit more. But he can kind of like what's that style of martial arts? Is it called Drunken Master? There's a bit of Drunken Master to him where he can come down the ground, be on one leg, falling over, reaching for a ball, and still hit it over mid-off or long off for 6. That's such a unique skill to have, because a lot of players in the world get their feet set, get themselves into a swing and can hit a 6. To be able to hit a swing at 6 when you're not in peak position and you've made a mistake just makes you so much more dangerous. I suppose, is McCullum maybe one of the best examples of that? Don't know if he would have gone down the ground. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm sure some of you have questions. And if you don't have questions, what on earth were we just watching? It has to be at least one of them.
Sometimes you just need to take the slips out and bowl defensively. And you need to be just as careful with your computer's defenses as well. And for that, why not use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan and 4 additional months for free. It's also completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Sounds like roaming slang, but it's not. The link is in the show notes. So put in some dot balls and turn them into maidens via nordvpn.com/Kimber. If you make a lot of content like me, you will need help. And that is why we use Minvo.pro, a slicing and dicing tool that uses AI to conjure up great clips from your podcast chats and meetings. If you make content, go to Minvo.pro to cut it.
All right, we've got a couple of chats, and then what's Kaushals just come in with one as well. Oh, does he want this one? Or does he want that one? All right. Ali says, why haven't more players mastered the judgment of leaving versus playing potential wides? I notice a lot of errors in this area. The reason, Ali, is quite simple. The ball is a long way away from you when it's a potential wide, right? If batters don't leave many balls that hit their stumps. But when you're leaving a ball that is going to hit your stumps or just miss your stumps, your head is right over it. So as it's coming down, you can see the line, it's coming towards you, and you're like, oh, okay, that's just pitched outside of stump, and it looks like it's swinging away. I can leave that, right? You get a really good idea. When you're doing a wide, the ball is, what's the wide line? It's 1.6 meters away from your leg stump, I would assume, or where your toes might be. So you're suddenly making a very different judgment. Also, if you're moving out, which I think Andre Russell was, but I might be misremembering this. But if you're moving towards it, right, your head is also not still. And now you've lost. How many times do you see a batter review a wide because they don't realize how far they've moved, right? So it is actually a really tricky thing. I think unless you're positive that it's almost off the pitch, I'm not sure. And down leg side are the easier ones, right? It's very rare that a batter gets the one down leg side wrong. Now, they don't all do what Ashwin did in the T20 World Cup, but it's very rare that a batter gets that one wrong because, again, it's closer to your body. But with the really wide ones, I think you have to be 100% sure that you know where you're standing and the exact, release of the ball at that time. And I just don't think that's an easy thing to do. I think people get that wrong all the time. Rishab says, this is why the IPL is the best league. It's not only about quality of players, but the topmost quality of IPL is different flavors it brings. Some day 250 odd is not good enough, and on some 100 is too much. Yes, this is why I disagree with you, Rishab. If you watch T20 cricket around the world, you will see this stuff all the time. In fact, if what you're talking about here, about a 250 odd is not enough, and then 100 odd is too much, welcome to associate cricket, where that stuff happens all the time. It doesn't happen with the top quality players, but no, there's nothing. The top quality of the players here was really interesting. The fact that this doesn't happen, if you watch leagues around the world, we see these sorts of things all the time. If you're paying attention to other leagues, was it Pal and somewhere else? What was Pal? And it was a second ground in the SA20 that had some really low scores that could have been defended and were defended and all sorts of things. We see madness in T20 cricket all the time. What you're really talking about is T20 cricket and not the IPL. Yash. Oh, wait. I did start. Oh, actually, I'll get to Yash in a minute. Walking Alive says, and I thought this is your typical middle of the season IPL snooze fest. I know nothing about cricket. No, you were right. It was exactly that. This is where, as I was saying before, the net run rate thing becomes a huge issue. Not all the reason. One of the reasons that net run rate doesn't work is because very few teams actually take it seriously, and that's a different conversation for another day. But if you've ever followed me and Rob Barron, you know that we get very frustrated with this. I remember there was a team, it might have been Islamabad United, who had a rule that you had to chase every total like you were trying to get the score in the 18th over. And they told the team it was for net run rate, and they told the team how important net run rate was, and they went about it. But actually, why they told the team that was, if you let chasers get too close, that's when the nerves come in. And so they wanted to take that away. But it's very rare to tell teams that net run rate is important and have teams listen to it. All due respect to Kolkata, they were told to go for net run rate, and they went for net run rate. Will the next team go for the net run rate boost is the big one, right? Will we see another team in the future decide that they're going to do the same thing? Because now we've seen, and it very rarely happens, but as I said earlier, the New Zealand game in the 2015 World Cup was another example. And I have seen teams go for net run rate and lose before. Probably less when you've got such a low total, because generally you can pull it back and get there 6 or 7 wickets down. But the Chahal double strike, the freak wicket of Ramandeep, as I was saying earlier, is really the swing point here. Because at that point, even if they win, it's not going to be a very close game. Ezekiel has come in. He has no idea that he's missed one of the greatest IPL games of all time. And he wants to play basketball. But he's going to have to wait. I'm broadcasting. If you want to speak on the microphone. Otherwise, get in the corner. Do you want to say something?
Did they score 300?
No, they scored 111 and then they defended it. And at one stage, they even gave 4 runs away because one of their fielders threw the ball backwards. I'll only be about another 10 minutes, okay? And then you can play basketball. He's been away, so he wants to come back and play some basketball. Kaushal's done one as well, which I've already tagged, but I'll get to that in a minute. Ashera says, I thought Arshdeep was going to go with the slow ball to get the lob to cover with Aurora on the back foot, but excellent ball to nick him off. So what I was saying before is, I think he allowed himself probably 3 options. He allowed himself another short ball at the body, which could have been very, very important as well. He allowed himself this slow ball that you're talking about, and he allowed himself just the ability to go with the Yorker. So he could have gone with any. I probably wouldn't have gone with the slower ball on the 6th ball or towards the end of the over. If I was going to do the slower ball, and I'd have to go back and have a look to see whether he did early on. But I think if it was me, I would have bowled this slower ball. Where's this over? Let's have a look. Full ball, angling in. Yeah, I would have gone the slow ball in one of the first 2 balls of the over. And he may have, and I might not have picked it up. I mean, there's a lot going on at that stage. But yeah, Yash with the super chat says, what were some cricketers now and in the past? Oh, this is not about this game. What were some cricketers now and in the past that were S-level talent but didn't do good frustratingly? Making you go Obi-Wan Kenobi on them. S tier level, I would have Aravinda de Silva in that argument. I think his numbers are... When Aravinda de Silva wanted to be the best player in the world, he was close to the best player in the world. And if you look at most of his career, he wasn't at that level. So he was very frustrating. Sean Pollock was another one. I think with Sean Pollock, to be fair, it's just his body withered him, but he turned into quite a good medium fast bowler and a decent number 8 option, whereas I think he could have been one of the greatest all-rounders who'd ever lived. And he's probably still an S-level talent, but I think he could have even been better. But yeah, I can't think of any others. I mean, I can, but this game has scrambled my entire brain. Kaushal says, what about Kuldeep? Is he a different zone altogether? So when I was talking about the players before, so when we were going through the list, who did I have? I had Noah, I had Varun, and then I had a bunch of other players who have been at that level. I think Kuldeep right at the moment is probably very close to that level, but it wasn't that long ago that he was... oh, God, why can't I find his stats? So what I'm talking about is a bowler who at the moment, if they are about to bowl, no matter where they're going, you kind of just think that, well, I suppose if you're talking about from betting terms, you would just bet on them. So if you look at Kuldeep last year, he had a really good year, but not a killer year. And I'm just trying to think of what he's done for India in between. What was that? T20 internationals. What are we? 2025. So he would have last played in 2024. Yeah, he'd probably be close to that, all things considered. I would probably have him slightly down on Noah at the moment, just because I think Noah being a little bit faster can make things happen. I think it's very hard to score off Noah at the moment because he's just a little bit quicker, unless I'm wrong. But to naked eye, he looks a little bit quicker. But Kuldeep is probably the third guy you would have up there. I don't think there's another seamer that I can think of in the world that you would. And I can't think of anyone else in women's cricket as well, even. So yeah, just that ability to be like, okay, this person is bowling. It's going to be positive for their team. That was crucial, wasn't it? And Manon says, where do you rank Yuzi among the spinners? Third after Kuldeep and Varun. If you're talking right now, I wouldn't have him third. He's been struggling. He's bowled really well today, but I would have Noor ahead of him. And I don't know if you're just talking about Indians here, but I would have Noor ahead of him. I would have Sunil Narine ahead of him. Digvesh has been incredible this year. Like, I don't know if I would pick him ahead if we're talking about Indian selection, but usually it's been struggling, right? Like, why can't I find his? That's Sunil Narine. Let's have a look at what he has been doing so far. I can't even find him. Here we go. Oh, there he is. So Chahal in the last IPL, 15 matches for Rajasthan, average of 30, economy of 9.4. In this IPL, and I think this game, even including this game, he's got an average of 32 and an economy of 10.2, right? So 6 games, 6 wickets, and 4 of them came today. But he is a natural wicket taker, which is probably why I was a little bit more disappointed with him last year that he wasn't quite bowling on that level all the way through, because he is just an absolutely brilliant wicket taker. And he had slipped back. And I think people will know I've always been very high on him. I think he's actually been underpaid several times in the IPL. I don't understand why he doesn't get paid more money. I even in the years when Rashid was better, I'm trying to think of another leg spinner, Imran Tahir maybe. It's like, why would you not overpay Chahal and have the best Indian wrist spinner available to you? Before, Chakravarti became a wrist spinner and with Kuldeep coming in and out the side. I never understood why teams weren't loading up on him and were sleepy on him a little bit. And he's an interesting leg spinner. I think we've seen him and Matt Parkinson be slower leg spinners without a wrong and be successful, whereas the vast majority of wrist spinners that are successful have a wrong and. So he is a different kind of bowler. But yeah, it was just a brilliant performance, and it's old school bowling. He eventually got mangled by Dre Russ, but he generally gets mangled by Dre Russ. And on another day, he gets the inside edge off Dre Russ, and he's ended the game in that section as well. That was always very possible. Let's just take another quick break. I've done all the super chats, but if you want to get another super chat in, feel free. But we'll have one more break, and we'll be back in a second or so. From Virat Kohli's MCG 6 against Pakistan to Bumrah's stump-destroying Yorker to Ollie Pope, incredible things happen on the cricket ground. We also get iconic lines off it, like Siraj saying, "I only believe at Jesse Bye." There are so many incredible moments that cricket fans just never forget. And now you can wear them on your chest. Free Hit Gear has launched a line of amazing t-shirts and hoodie designs. Passionate fans in India can order through their website, freehitgear.com, while fans abroad can use Free Hit Gear on the Etsy store to have items delivered to them. Order now with the code GOODAREAS, all one word, to get a limited time 15% discount, and you can wear a t-shirt like this one right here. All right. Shara says, usually gets the most wickets with the loopy wide one. So there's a technical reason why this is the case with him. Most leg spinners in T20 cricket bowl at the stumps, right? That is the standard delivery, bowling at the stumps. And when I've worked with wrist spinners, I've basically used Rashid Khan as my template for this. Rashid Khan bowls every ball kind of pitching at or around off stump. Right, like when he's at his absolute best. And there's a reason he does this. If he gets the ball to straighten a little bit, he can still hit the outside of off stump and beat you. If he bowls a wrong one, it should still hit leg stump as well. So he's keeping leg stump in, he's keeping off stump in play. Obviously, middle stump is between them, and that's also in play. But also, if he gets spin away, he's got a chance of getting the outside edge, right? He's LBW, bowled, caught behind are all in play before you're worried about people hitting the ball across the line and everything else. If you're Matt Parkinson or Chahal and you don't have a wrong one, you don't actually need to play that game. You don't need to bowl as straight. You can bowl some straight balls, and they obviously do. But you can also do the other, which is the old school form of leg spin. If you go back, leg spinners didn't always, especially Indian leg spinners were a little bit different. But if you go back and look at Australian leg spinners and Pakistani leg spinners, who are the other sort of dominant leg spinners, in that earlier cricket period, quite often leg spinners would bowl off stump and outside. And part of the reason is it's a bit like an outswing bowler. If you can bowl that, you're constantly taking the ball from the eye line of the batter and away, right? You're having to push it, you're having to follow it, and all these sorts of things. And if you go back and look at older leg spinners, especially the ones without the wrong ones, they did that a lot. If you have a wrong and it's different because you have to keep off stump in play. So you can't bowl really, really wide because then it's obvious that it's the leg spinner, right? So you do have a very different way of doing that. Now, why it works for Parkinson and Chahal is because they're so slow, and the loopies the key bit here, right, Jarrod? The loopy is really important. If you're bowling really, really slow and that ball is floating away, it's now slow, and you have to reach for it, and it's spinning away from your eye line. So you've got three weapons that you have there. Most people are going to try and hit you to the leg side, right? That's where people try and hit in general against spin. You know, slog sweeps, sweeps, power shots, pull shots, whatever. It's harder to put pace on the ball on the offside, right? You want to hit to the leg side. Well, if you're bowling loopy stuff outside off stump, it's slow. There's no pace on the ball. So unless you're like an incredible cutter of the ball or a brilliant cover player, chances are you're going to bring it back to the leg side. You've now got to drag a ball from way outside here to the leg side. It's hard. It's a really good tactic. It doesn't always work, but against certain players, it can work. Zenil says, Josh Ingler's keeping was key today. He was really good and should be starting every game from now. Yeah, it just his bat. His keeping was as good as his batting was bad. Sadly, it wasn't a great shot. I didn't like the choice of it. I didn't like the execution of it. I didn't like the fact he was trying to hit Varun Chakravarti for 6. If you haven't faced him all that much, all these different things. Anyway, but yeah, keeping ended up being far more important in this game than anyone ever thought it would be. Just a general cricket question: which player in world cricket, current or retired, was the best at leaving a ball in Test cricket? That is a fascinating one. So I did some stats a few years ago, and I don't think I ever did the piece, but I think I was going to either do it for Cricket Info or might have even been for our YouTube channel. But I remember doing the data, and it's hard. Who is the best lever of a ball? Yeah, I don't know if I have a great answer to that. It's also something that's gone a little bit out of cricket. People like to hit the ball now. I played in a club game recently, and a bowler was bowling a little bit wide. I left a couple of balls, and like everyone went ooh, doesn't want to play a shot. And I was like, I'm in England, guys. You invented this shot, right? The lack of shot or whatever. No, Nazar, it's a great question. I don't think I can answer it right now. And last super chat from Walking Alive says, can we know if more or less revs have been put on the ball in real time? Will be fascinating to see data for cool deep leg spinners. We can't. We will be able to. Once we get the microchip in the ball, we'll be able to do it. There's also a company called Rapsodo. No, Rapsodo's a game, isn't it? Rapsodo? It's a baseball company that does it. It's a big problem with Hawkeye that it doesn't give you that information. It's not what Hawkeye set up for. I'm not having a go at Hawkeye, but it allows for another company to come in. But yes, we can definitely do that. I think I was supposed to be doing something with it, but I've talked to them before. I actually talked to them before they came to cricket, and now they've got some people working in the UK. And I've tried to get some slower ball bowlers and some spinners in to talk to them and see how their tools can work and everything. But yeah, absolutely no doubt. It's going to be something that we need to, because I had the revs. Was that England used to do that? And I've heard that one's a bit dodgy, or not scientific. I don't know. And I don't know if that's the case. And there was someone else who did something else. And then of course we can work out how much a ball has spun, but that doesn't actually tell you how many revs have been put on the ball. And it doesn't help you for slower balls, which is actually where I think learning about revolutions and everything else is at their most important. Anyway, unsurprisingly, this is the longest third innings we've probably done this year. What a fun game. Don't know when the next third innings will be, but I didn't know that this one would be. And then sometimes it just is. Sometimes things just are. Remember, by the art of batting, me and Robbie will be back. I don't know when actually, but sometime to do another podcast. Follow us on all the social medias. Support us on Patreon. The reason we can do stuff like this and I can just randomly come on is because we have so much support on Patreon. So please go and support us there and head over to Good Area. I got to get better at this, don't I? Head over to goodareas.co, which is our website, which has so much more information. And we've also got the main Good Areas channel where you can have a look. We had a really good section from the podcast with me and Robbie on Karan Nair, and the power rankings is the last one. And I would have been working on another piece now, but instead I've ended up talking to you about this fascinating game. But we'll be back again very soon. Like, subscribe, all these things. When you like a video or you subscribe, it helps us with the algorithm in the future to get more people. And if you like what we do and you can't afford to financially back us, that's the best thing that you can do. Just throwing us a like, subscribing helps massively, because the more subscribers we have, the more it helps us when we go to advertisers, and the more likes that we have helps us for the algorithm on YouTube. That's all I have. That's it. I'm done.